Hello. The very first edition of Coast to Coast was, you may remember, devoted to the problems of Consett. Well, that was well before British Steel announced that the works was to close. You may also recall the advice given to the Durham steel men by a woman member of the French delegation we brought over to discuss the common problems of the two countries' steel industries. She said that if British Steel was to close Consett, the workers should ignore the redundancy payments and fight with all their might to preserve their jobs. Well, Consett did fight, and it fought in vain. Last week, British Steel finally damped down the massive furnaces, and over 100 years of steel production came to an end. But if the Consett Crusade ultimately failed, it did have its moments of glory, and none more so than the march to London in July, a march recorded by coast-to-coast cameras. It's a film that we believe says a lot about the spirit of Consett's Crusade. It's also a striking visual record of one of the most important days in the history of the town.
That'll be enough in that bus, will it not?
Just trying to get as much as you can on the first one.
On the first one?
It all began just like the day of the big meeting.
Hey, I've got all his beer in here. You will go upstairs or what?
Aye, mate. Oh, anyway, you think, George. As long as we get there, that's all it wanted.
They were the same cheerful early morning greetings. The same plastic bags with the promising shapes of beer and lager cans bulging through. And for all the family groups, there was that same brand of masculine good humour. But it wasn't the Durham Miners' Gala. For all the festive air of the departure, it was a day of serious business. Perhaps the most important day in the whole history of Consett. A crucial public battle in the fight to save the very existence of this County Durham steel town. Today's crusade to London had to arouse public opinion and force the government to intervene. If it failed, the British Steel Corporation would close the Consett works and the town would be doomed to become the Jarrow of the 1980s.
The next train to arrive at platform 1 will be the special train to King's Cross, which is due to depart at 7:00.
When the locomotive comes in, letters M will be at the far side of the platform, with a train pulling it. The 8 carriages will be at the back, so try and situate yourselves where you think your carriage will be, please.
At least in Durham itself, they were taking the Consett Crusade seriously, with that bowler-hatted departure routine that's normally reserved for royalty or Labour Party leaders, which of course in this part of England practically amounts to the same thing. But it wasn't the city of Durham they were trying to impress. The real question was how they'd be received in London itself, where Consett, if it's known at all, is simply a faraway place somewhere up there. The card schools, which normally fill a trip to London, this time had to make way for campaign literature. If London was going to take any notice at all, then it was important that everybody knew exactly what they were talking about.
We're not going to give you the name of the MP that you will be asked to lobby in Parliament. That is the name that you put on the green card when you get to the Great Hall, right? You take your names and the name of this. Keep this paper so that when you come out, if your MP doesn't come out, we want to know about it when you come back on the train, right? Very good. Lewis Carter-Jones. What's your name?
Ray Brown.
Ray Bell. Who's your McAul's?
Brown, that is.
Bell.
Brown. Oh, Brown,
Bell. Jean Campbell. I hope you've read your leaflet, by the way, so that you can ask any relevant questions. Because no doubt they will give you some trouble. If you're fortunate, he might come out. If he doesn't, well, I'm afraid there's very little we can do about it.
Oh, I see.
All you can do is put up as good a case as possible and keep them Consett open. You must have a good case.
What we're going to run through is the last-minute details that we have on lobbying. Now, they're working on a carriage-to-carriage basis. They're running the Redchester-Rockford carriage. I believe that by the time we get down there, every person on the coach will have an MP to lobby. There will be three secretaries in the lobby who will record the response from MPs as...
This peculiarly working-class talent for organising people with humour and good grace has been learned on 100 club outings and innumerable leek and vegetable shows. Perhaps if British Steel had tapped even a fraction of this talent, Consett would not now be in its present plight.
One thing we've got to discuss today is the timing of petition. We've got two youngsters going. David Watkins will be going with them,
Yeah.
right? So we'll want a delegation to go with David Watkins.
There's only 5, isn't it?
Well, 5 can be allowed in Downing Street, but you can get a fair bit body behind them, right?
The other work on the journey south was coping with the demands of the media, those professional voyeurs of misfortune. The same questions to be answered, the same performances to be given, if Consett's plight was to be made known to the rest of the country.
Councillor Bell, you come down with the Devonside Council deputation today. Can I ask you what you think today's march will achieve?
What I think it will achieve, what I hope it will achieve, is of course to draw the attention of the whole nation to the plight that we find ourselves in. The fact that the Consett Steelworks, which has done everything possible, everything that's been required to do, are going to be rewarded for all their efforts, for all their cooperation with closure. It's going to have a devastating effect on the whole of the district that we represent in Durham South.
Do you think the march will have any effect on keeping the plant open?
We hope so. Yes, definitely hope so.
And what will the effect be on you two personally if the plant closes?
No job. We'll have no jobs. We have homes to be on the dole.
Do you two work at the Consett plant?
Yes, yes. Cleaners.
Okay, David, could we have a bit of the music now, please, for recording level?
Starting right on the verse. Choose one away. Choose right in the verse. 1, 2.
Right, that's okay for recording level, so we'll take it now, okay? I'll just give you a cue when to go. It's for BBC Radio Newcastle. Right, okay.
1, 2.
We shall not be moved, and indeed they were not. At least not for over an hour, stuck in some anonymous siding outside Grantham. Grantham, as some wit pointed out, the birthplace of Mrs. Thatcher. A sure indication they were the victims of a Tory plot.
Yes, that's fine, okay? Thanks very much indeed. That's super, right?
Can you all hear us now, then? It's in there. Pass it through, will you?
Look, if I can talk, can somebody just pass the message back? Can you hear that? Can you all hear it? Right then, as you all know, we're running late through numerous reasons now. Now it's going to depend solely on the stewards when we get onto the station to see that everything is organised and everything runs smoothly so we can get on with the job that we've got to do. Now I think first what we want to do is John Lee there. John, will you look after the banner situation? As soon as we get them out, I think you've got a rough idea on how we want them. We want the Crusade one first, Consett Community, and then the black banner, and then work the way down so we have people ready to stand behind.
Posters. There's a hell of a lot in there. They'll have to be taken out, you know.
Right, come up, 2 volunteers when we get to the station to go straight to the baggage compartment and take out the hand posters we've got. So they'll come out, that's organised. Once the march starts, we set off, line down, either side of the march on the outside. You'll get some of these handbills before you go, which will distribute to people on the street as we're going past. Just hand them to them. If you get any abuse, just ignore them. Now, the one thing we've got to watch for, this is a peaceful demonstration by very sensible people from Consett. And we have no intentions of letting any radical group infiltrate us, create trouble, because if we do that, the whole purpose of our demonstration will be lost. Because the only thing you'll see on the media is the trouble. We've seen this before. We can't have that. So if you do get infiltrators, we'll be speaking to the police. If you have any trouble with them at all, I'll make sure that the police officers will come to your assistance. You keep them out of the Consett lot.
Keep them out of the Consett lot. What somebody's called the North East's obsession with the politics of respectability. But what impact would dignified protest, civic chains of office and all, make on a city that sees a protest march about this or that every other day? Will it mean much more to Londoners than a rush hour inconvenience, an extra half hour on the journey from St John's Wood to the Strand because of some march or other?
Can I have John Lee at the head of it? Platform, please, John Lee.
Over that side of the road, no problem. Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. Who's Mr. Lee? This is Mr. Lee. Right, Mr. Lee, can I introduce Chief Superintendent Lee? I spoke to you on the phone. Yeah, just come over.
hearing that it's going to close.
Oh, yes.
And does the whole of your family working
yes,
still?
Well, and during the both me and my mum will be affected because my mum works at the British Steel Corporation as well. And my dad used to work for a cooperative factory.
Yeah.
And he was made redundant. He's been unemployed now for 18 months, so if the work still goes, we'll have a drop.
He worked for a co-op up there.
Cooperative, in that closed down.
18 months. So does that mean the whole family will be unemployed?
Yes.
You're the last person working in the family?
Me and my mum, yes.
So really...
But already there were signs that London was taking Consett seriously. Encouragement from the offices of the Morning Star was perhaps only to be expected, but even city gents seemed prepared to read the campaign literature, at least as closely as the Investors Chronicle.
What do we want? What? What do we want? What? What do we want? Where comes the door? Where comes the door? Where comes the door? Money, money, money! Out, out, out! Money!
No, no, what collection? How you trading for? Give me a pint.
When you realise that the campaign's worthwhile, it's times like this when you feel confident that the campaign's going to be successful.
It's a tremendous march, a tremendous turnout, immensely orderly and well organised and well disciplined, and I think it has already made a great impression here in London.
L&M coaches, stand back, please. L&M coaches. You're not going to the House of Commons.
I'm going now to take the small group who are actually going into number 10 to present the petition.
Where's Robert and Linda?
Yeah,
Where's
one
Robert?
with two lots on.
Robert?
1 and 3.
That's the one with two.
Come on, lad, over here.
Carry the late one.
In the front here. Where's the other
Here
lad
he is,
at?
here.
Here.
Two young ones.
Oh yes, the two
Robert?
youngsters.
Can we take the 6, please, Ben? Don't mind the children.
Can you look this way, Chip?
Downing Street, of course, has seen it all before.
Up the Geordies!
The eager press photographers, the polite young constable, and the discreet tap on the door of number 10, where nobody, it seems, ever fails to hear the knocker, and where there's always someone at home to receive the bulky parcel of petitions. But the person they wanted to see was not at home. By now, Mrs. Thatcher had left for Parliament.
Consett Steelworkers want more!
Try and see Consett Steelworkers.
You didn't manage to see Mrs. Thatcher?
No, she wasn't be.
Thank you, gentlemen. Can we please call that anybody? Thank you.
And what did you say to him?
Well, I actually didn't see anything. It was Mr. David Watkins that did all the talking.
Why were you picked to do this job today?
Well, I think I was elected by the organising committee. I didn't actually know anything about it.
Now, you're unemployed, aren't you? Yes. You've been looking for a lot of jobs.
Very orderly, no problems, and they're just leaving Downing Street.
But by now, even the politics of respectability were beginning to wear a bit thin in the face of the frustrations of metropolitan bylaws about not marching on the embankment, or regulations about how many protesters can be allowed up Downing Street.
Maggie wasn't in! She wasn't even in! I mean, this doesn't surprise us what we've come down to here for, man. The Jarrah lads had this in the 1930s. But they're up against a different crowd of lads now. We're steel workers. They're calling the Iron Maiden. We make iron, man. We know all about iron. We can destroy her any time we want. Because that's what's going to happen. She talks about Russia and all the rest of it. If she's not careful, she's going to have civil war.
It's a totalitarian state. When we come 300 miles and we come down here and we can't even walk up the main street.
Maggie wasn't in, eh?
No,
she wasn't even in. She wasn't even in.
We need one word. Aye, I think we're the only bloody English that's down here.
Any other country can get in there, but the British can't.
Ah, well, we don't vote Tory.
We want work! We want work! You can't get into the British Steel because the Yorkshire Mafia's got it all tied up. We want shut above Scully and the lot of them because they're totally inefficient. Consett Steelworks is the only steel makers in the country that's making a profit, and they're going to shut us down and put us on the dole.
Have British Steel explained why they want to close Consett if it's making a profit?
Yes, because they built a monster at Redcar, and Consett's got to close to subsidise that place there. Ask them where our orders have gone to from Consett to Scunthorpe and the rest of the people, and ask Consett customers why they're having to go to Germany, Luxembourg and the rest for the steel, because they can't get steel compatible from Consett, compatible to Consett. That's why they're going to Germany.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
These people in black uniforms who elected them.
Please, through you go. Thank you. You've played the game with you. Please, will you clear the street? Thank you very much. Thank you. Let them through, please. Please let these people through. They now want to go over to Parliament. They weren't making the way you're there. So please let these people through.
Let's go on to Parliament.
Once at the Palace of Westminster, there were still further obstacles to peaceful protest. You can lobby MPs, it seems, only as long as you don't get in the way of the tourists. Fail to line up in anything less formal than an orderly single file, and above all, don't overstate your welcome.
Can I say something? That if you go in there, you know, the longer you stay in there, the less people get in there. So I'll in and out. I'll take 40, but no more. Yeah.
40 in, that's out.
Oh, he's at 10.
Looking at this queue like here, it looks like we're going to be here about 4 hours. I don't know whether you have been at Consett or not, but if the works closes, we've had it. We'll be down and out. But you can't get these people inside. What I mean, they're just sitting aside to make these decisions. They want to get up to Consett and have a look around. Like I said, it's going to be pretty rough if we don't get some satisfaction.
Well, I've got a Tory MP to lobby. I hope I can convince them that we are right and they are wrong. Big a job, I know. But I'm a good talker. I think I might get them turned socialist. I hope.
You want to go back to the Abbey? No. Anyway, if we go home now, we'll end up being on the subway too early, and we will, we won't have anybody to pick us up. So we will have missed seeing the Houses of Parliament, but that's the way it will be today. Okay? What do you want to do? Go home.
I want to go home too.
The 700 people who'd left Consett that morning were thinking of home too. They of course had the traditional comforts of fish and chips and brown ale. And then the journey home, with its inquests on how the day had gone.
Very well.
Well, I think it must have done some good. Must have done some good, but I don't think it'll stop Consett closing now.
It's unfortunate that we were 2 hours late. That was the main point. If we could have possibly got there on time and had that little bit extra time to make our point further, then something could have been done. It was very, very unfortunate. Maybe it was a Tory plot to make sure we didn't get there 2 hours earlier. We'll never know.
Well, yes, it's the first time I've actually heard MPs close up since maybe 1960 or 61 when I was during big meeting. No, it could have been 62 or 63 when I was during big meeting. But to see them all come in there, the Labour big guns, and they did come in, and there were a lot of them, and they came in and they went out and they came in. And I thought, well, it seems that it stirred something. It stirred something that staying up in the Consett area or Newcastle or Durham wouldn't have done.
I think when we marched through today, there was a lot of people, I think, whether it was dinner hour or what, I don't know. But I think there was a lot of support, Fred, when they're going through there today.
Yes, the only thing that I was disappointed with was we seemed to go through the back streets of London.
The only thing I was a bit disappointed,
the MPs that went to lobby, they didn't come out to see us.
Michael Foot and Tony Benn thought it went well anyway. They thought it was worth us coming down.
I had to lobby Michael Heseltine, and I drew a total blank. In fact, when I handed the lobby card in, the gentleman to whom I handed it just laughed. As much as saying, you haven't got a cat in hell's chance. No way.
We got a typical response from Jill Knight, I think it is, Birmingham Edgbaston, who said she didn't want to see us and she was not interested. And those people are elected to do a job. But they seem to have a different opinion, you know.
And I didn't actually go lobbying. I stayed in the committee room all day and heard all the speakers from beginning to end. And I think it's not I don't think that the fight will succeed in keeping steelworks open, unless, of course, there's an outside influence, so something we don't know about. But I think if it's a straight fight between us and the government, the Labour Party in the House of Commons could do very, very, very little to help us. And unless, as I say, there's some outside influence which comes to bear on the situation, I think the steelworks will be closed by the end of the year. I really do believe that.
Yet for all that sober end-of-the-day realism, that knowledge that protest marches, however well organised, can really achieve very little, there was still the same good humour as at the start. The same grace in coping with the organisational problems of getting 700 tired steelworkers and their families to their homes.
So here's one from Stern Newcastle, is that?
No, it's Chesley Street.
Chesley Street.
It's Stanley. That's the three depots you want to know of what's here.
This is lads wanting for Black Hill, you see him shortly.
Well, everybody on the bus will sort the problems out in Consett. So everybody get on. We're all going to Consett first.
Perhaps Consett, not London, was always the place to sort out the problems. But at least some people down there, with their jobs galore shop fronts, would know a bit more about what it's like to live in a town where there'll shortly be no jobs at all.
Good night, Dennis.
Good night. Good night, Dennis.
Forward to the people! Yes, I. Where you heard it? Yes, I.
The morning after, it was back to the reality of the 6 till 2 shift and the workmen's specials. The time to see what the rest of the country had made of Consett's protest. In fact, most of the national newspapers relegated Consett to a relatively minor place in their columns. The front pages were reserved for the tube crash that unluckily coincided with the march. The other business of the day was Anna Ford's complaint about how people hankered after her body. And only after Mr. Pryor's plans for the unemployed to work for their dole came the bare bones of Consett's case. But some people had listened, and it had at least been a day for the men and women of Consett to remember.
Well, we're staying with iron and steel in next week's Coast to Coast, but we'll be at the other end of our region, indeed at Bekermet in West Cumberland, where the last iron ore mine in Europe closed tonight. The last of the Red Men is not yet more of the Labour Party conference, but a valedictory tribute to those Cumbrians who over the centuries have mined red iron ore. Until next Friday, good night.